Dangerous Ground is about a violent cop played by Robert Ryan who's sent out of town to the countryside to get away from his violence and gets involved in an investigation of the death of a young child. If you saw Johnny Guitar in a previous run of Moviedrome, you'll know what to expect because it's directed by the same director as this one, Nicholas Ray. He was an alcoholic, a sometime drug addict, bisexual. He was in left-wing theatre in the 30s, studied architecture. In the 50s, he became one of the most fiercely independent, maverick, passionate filmmakers in American cinema. He married Gloria Graham, the actress, and very strangely, she then later married his son. In the 60s, he taught. In the 70s, he worked with Wim Wenders, and he died in 1979 of cancer. When you see the name Nick Ray on a film, you know it's going to be very visual, not literary, which is good. You know that it's going to be passionate, it's going to be full of close-ups. You know that it's going to be messy, disruptive, because his life was messy, and often he was drunk when he was making his films. But most of all, you know it's going to be intellectually and thematically daring, and we could do with more of that. I think there are two themes that come up again and again in Nicholas Ray films. He made a film called In a Lonely Place, and I think loneliness is everywhere in his pictures. His characters are often very troubled, find it very difficult to express emotion, apparently like he did in real life. And I think the second theme is alienation. You could say it's the same thing in a way, but it's even when people are close to each other, they still don't connect. In a film like Rebel Without a Cause that he made, that, of course, alienation is the theme, and that combination of loneliness and alienation makes his films very stark and very bold. Robert Ryan, the lead in the picture, I think is now rated as one of the best tough actors in cinema of this period. Less well known is Ida Lupino, who also directed Hitchhiker in this series of Moviedrome. One of the very few women directors in Hollywood ever at that time. You'll notice pretty quickly the music in this film. It was done by Bernard Herrmann, who did the music for Psycho and for Taxi Driver, well known as one of the great composers in cinema. An awful lot of the music by Golden Age composers in Hollywood was very slavish. It was always a means to an end, an attempt to make the audience laugh or cry or have quite a simple knee-jerk reaction. I think with Bernard Herrmann's scores, they sort of can be played on their own. There's a kind of internal wisdom about them, the way he uses themes. He famously uses a very unusual viola-like instrument in this film to represent Ida Lupino's character. And this thematic weaving that he does means that it's a kind of richer type of score, I think. Nick Ray films were seldom received well when they came out, and this one certainly wasn't. Everybody, including the producer, John Houseman, who also produced Citizen Kane, felt that the story was just too much of a change. It starts like a film noir, a gangster movie in the city, and ends up like a fairy tale set in the countryside, set in a kind of winter wonderland. But that's exactly what's exciting about the picture, its lack of continuity. You could say that this film is like two films in a way, and that's what was criticised at the time. It starts a city film, hard-boiled, dark, cynical, touches of Taxi Driver in the way that there are prostitutes, etc. in it. But the second half of the film, it's like it dissolves from a gangster picture into a kind of fairy tale set in a winter wonderland. Thematically and tonally, it becomes a very different picture. Very unusual and very daring.